We have a 42-year-old male with complaints of weakness, dizziness, and lightheadedness. He reported that he had very little appetite or thirst for the past 3 days.
I am going to need a urine analysis and an electrolyte test if possible. And please notify me immediately after they're done. Thanks.
We already did the tests and they revealed an elevated serum sodium as well as high concentration of urine with evidence of ketones and proteinuria.
Malnutrition and dehydration. He needs water and nutrients immediately.
On it.
Water is the most neutral nourishment in the world. And if you think about it, nourishment is really a fancy word for something that has 0 calories. Water has 0 calories, 0 macronutrients like fats, proteins and carbs, and it has 0 vitamins. I mean, what's the meaning of drinking water here? Well, actually, if we're talking about nutrition, water has some micronutrients such as calcium carbonate, magnesium sulfate, sodium sulfate, and potassium. It may also contain some gases like carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfate, and if you're a normal person like me who doesn't really understand what these contribute to health, well, today is the day we find out. I say we run with everything that water is known to be healthy for our bodies, and then I can just explain a couple of things about how our bodies work and stuff like that. Okay, let's start with anatomy. When you drink water through your mouth, obviously, the water goes through your esophagus, which is a small tube that connects the mouth and the stomach, and then it lands in the stomach. The water is not really digested in the stomach, but it's absorbed instead. A quick fun fact is that the water is mainly absorbed in the small intestine instead of the stomach. So where does water go when it's absorbed? Where is it absorbed in? The water is absorbed in the bloodstream, and once something is in the bloodstream, the famous process called ADME takes place, and then water can basically go everywhere. Okay, we got to the bloodstream. What happens after that? Let's talk about the enormous list of health benefits of water. The number one benefit of water is hydration or prevention of dehydration. Who would have thought? Water, or the two molecules forming water, which are hydrogen and oxygen, are essential for like 90% of the processes that take place in the cell. Okay, not really 90, but you get the point. Our body contains water in 2 primary places: inside the cells, which is about 2/3 of the water, and between our cells, which is about 1/3 of the water. There's so many processes like cell reproduction, which is binary fission, mitosis, meiosis, transportation of nutrients, which is osmosis and diffusion. You have cell signaling, you have waste elimination, you have temperature regulation and joint lubrication, and all those massive general terms cover small essential processes that nobody really cares about. I did mention dehydration, which is the opposite of hydration, and it's pretty self-explanatory. If a cell slowly gets dehydrated, one by one the processes that happen in that cell stop working. And a good metaphor for that is dominoes, because every process is like a single individual domino which falls over to another one and another one and another one until they reach the last domino, which is the process called apoptosis, and apoptosis is essentially a programmed cell death. Okay, let's go back to the bloodstream and see where we can go from there. We talked about cells and microorganisms. Let's talk about the bigger picture. Let's talk about tissues. Water primarily resides in muscle tissue, and that's about 75% of all water in tissues. In muscle tissue, water is a critical component in muscle cells, and it plays an essential role in maintaining proper hydration levels. When you exercise, your muscles start producing heat, and that heat contributes to the production of sweat, which makes you lose water. If you don't drink enough water to replace those lost fluids, your muscles may become dehydrated, and that leads to cramps and fatigue and other issues which we're going to mention later. Additionally, water helps transport nutrients in your muscle cells, and that water also helps transport waste products, and that obviously is equally important. There is also a small percentage of water in adipose tissues. In adipose tissues, which are the fat cells, water also plays the same role. It maintains proper hydration levels, but for different reasons. Fat cells require water to function correctly, and their function is to store and release energy. It's as important as muscle, but a little bit different. Additionally, adequate hydration levels in adipose tissue can help prevent buildup of toxins and support the proper function of the lymphatic system, which sole purpose is to remove waste products. Now, what about an even bigger picture? Organs, or more specifically the process of digestion. Water aids in the passage of food through the gastrointestinal tract, which with the collaboration of pancreas and the liver fluids further break down the food, so its nutrients can be absorbed by the lining of the small intestine. The blood plasma water, which is 90% water and 10% blood components, helps transport these nutrients to your organs. When you're dehydrated, however, all of these processes kind of slow down and digestion becomes slower. And when the process of digestion and absorption of nutrients is slower, you can become bloated or even constipated. That's why digestion can be more pleasant and easier for most people or all people when they're drinking water prior to, during, or after a meal. Okay, that's all of the anatomy covered. Let's talk about some specific conditions. Now, as you may imagine, there are countless of conditions that may happen due to dehydration, but I am going to mention maybe the most prominent two. The first one is a headache. There are like 150 different types of headaches, maybe even more, and one or more of them are caused by dehydration. Dehydration is really a common cause of headaches, especially in people who do not drink enough water throughout the day. So why is that? When the body becomes dehydrated, it leads to a decrease in blood volume and blood flow to your brain. And when there's not enough blood flow in your brain, the brain itself starts to shrink. And obviously the shrinkage triggers pain signals, which causes the headache. So if you want less headaches, you might want to take a sip of water. Water also improves physical performance and weight loss, and I'm coupling those two because they're closely related. Proper hydration levels can help reduce muscle fatigue during exercise. As mentioned before, when your muscles are dehydrated, they can become fatigued more easily, and that leads to decreased physical performance. In opposed to that statement, by staying hydrated, you can delay the onset of muscle fatigue and improve your physical performance. In addition, water is also essential for regulating body temperature during exercise, which is basically the same thing mentioned before. When your body starts heating up, water can help you cool down. So I guess as a conclusion to this video, the best advice that I can give to you is how much water you should consume every day. And because I'm not a trained professional, I can't really do that. But what I can do is share Andrew Huberman's Instagram post on proper hydration, and what you can do is do the calculation yourself and see how much water you have to drink based on your body's values. Thank you for watching this episode. There are a million more things that I can say about water and its benefits, but I don't want to go into details, some of which are more obvious than others. Special thanks to Anne-Marie and Alexander for the great feedback, and I'll see you in the next one.